Nathan's hands trembled as he stared at the single receipt in his grip. It wasn't just any receipt. It was from an upscale hotel across town, time-stamped for the previous night. The charge was for a suite, a bottle of champagne, and special requests. But Nathan hadn't been at any hotel, nor had Amelia mentioned anything about going out. The receipt had tumbled out of Amelia's purse when she tossed it onto the counter, distracted by a phone call. She was in the other room now, her voice muffled but light-hearted, as though nothing in the world was wrong. Nathan's stomach churned. He tried to calm his racing mind. Maybe it wasn't what it seemed. Maybe it was for work, or a gift, but the doubt gnawed at him. In the pit of his gut, he knew something was off. Who was she talking to? He wondered, glancing toward the door where Amelia had disappeared. She was laughing softly, a sound he usually adored, but now it made his skin crawl. Nathan crept closer, his heart pounding as he strained to catch snippets of her conversation. "I can't stay long," she whispered, her tone laced with a mix of excitement and caution. "He'll be home soon." Nathan froze. The words struck him like a thunderclap. The phone slipped slightly in her hand, and she glanced back toward the living room. Nathan darted back to his spot at the kitchen counter, barely breathing. When she finally emerged, her smile was bright and her expression calm. "Sorry, work stuff," she said, brushing past him to grab a glass of water. Nathan forced a tight smile, nodding as if he believed her. But inside, his world had already started to crumble. The mask begins to slip. Nathan couldn't stop replaying her words. "He'll be home soon." Was it paranoia? A misunderstanding? But teach that night, as Amelia slept beside him, Nathan lay awake, staring at the ceiling. Every late-night meeting, every unexplained errand, every time she left the room to take a call, they all seemed to slot into place like pieces of a puzzle he didn't want to finish. Unable to resist, Nathan slipped out of bed and quietly made his way to her purse. His fingers moved carefully, searching for anything that might confirm his fears. Then, tucked in a hidden pocket, he found her phone. It wasn't locked. Nathan's breath hitched as he opened the Messages app. He didn't have to scroll far to find the truth. The thread with Kyle was filled with heart emojis, intimate confessions, and damning details of their secret meetings. "Kyle, can't stop thinking about you. Last night was amazing." "Amelia, me too. Wish I could stay with you longer." Nathan's vision blurred with rage and heartbreak. The messages dated back months. All this time, he had been planning their future together, and she had been sharing hers with someone else. An unraveling reality. The next day, Nathan couldn't focus on work. His colleagues noticed his distracted demeanor, but he brushed off their concerns. When he got home, Amelia greeted him with a kiss, as though nothing had changed. "How was your day?" she asked, smiling. Nathan struggled to respond. He studied her face, searching for any flicker of guilt or shame, but she was an expert actress. "Good," he said stiffly, swallowing his anger. "How about you?" "Oh, just the usual," she replied, turning back to her phone. Nathan's fists clenched. The usual? Did that mean sneaking off to see Kyle? He couldn't take it anymore. That night, Nathan downloaded a tracking app to her phone. He hated himself for it, but he needed to know the full extent of her betrayal. The first domino falls 2 days later. The tracker pinged. Amelia had told Nathan she was meeting a friend for drinks, but her location showed a high-end restaurant across town. Nathan drove there, parking far enough away to remain unseen. Nathan's hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that his knuckles turned white. His mind raced with emotions: anger, betrayal, humiliation, but most of all, a burning desire for answers. He took out his phone and snapped a photo of them together, his heart hammering in his chest. He wasn't ready to confront her yet, but this would be the first piece of evidence in the case he was building against her. The plan takes shape. Back home, Nathan sat in his office, staring at the photo. Nathan didn't want revenge out of spite. He wanted justice. He wanted her to understand the weight of her actions. But more than that, he wanted to reclaim his life, on his terms. He began crafting a plan, one that would leave no room for doubt about who had betrayed whom. Amelia thought she could deceive him. Nathan's resolve hardened as he stared at the photo of Amelia and Kyle laughing together. It was time to act. He wasn't one to make impulsive decisions, but this was different. This wasn't just about her betrayal. It was about the mockery she'd made of their life together. Over the next few days, Nathan became a ghost in his own home. He watched Amelia closely, making note of every suspicious behavior. The hushed phone calls, the text notifications she'd hastily swipe away, the excuses that barely held up under scrutiny. But Nathan didn't confront her outright. He couldn't afford to. He needed to be meticulous. Digging for the truth, Nathan spent hours poring over financial statements, phone records, and even Amelia's social media activity. Every breadcrumb of evidence painted a clearer picture of her secret life. The credit card charges matched the tracker's data, showing her frequent visits to upscale restaurants and boutique hotels, places they had never been to together. He also found her shared digital calendar, where she had marked work meetings during times when she was clearly with Kyle. The audacity of her lies sent waves of anger crashing through him. One night, while Amelia was asleep, Nathan took a risk. He unlocked her phone again and navigated to her email. Buried under folders of work correspondence, he found an email thread between her and Kyle. "Kyle, can't wait for our weekend getaway. I booked the suite. Amelia, you're spoiling me too much. Winking face, can't wait to see you." Nathan's hands trembled as he read the date for their trip. It was just a week away. They were planning to spend the weekend together in a luxurious beach resort, while she had told Nathan she was visiting her mother. Unbelievable, Nathan muttered under his breath. The setup. Nathan knew he couldn't just confront Amelia with what he had found. He needed her to reveal the truth herself, and he needed witnesses. That's when his plan took shape. The day before her supposed trip to visit her mother, Nathan called Amelia's mother, something he rarely did. "Hi, Margaret," Nathan said, keeping his voice light. "Just wanted to confirm that Amelia will be staying with you this weekend." Margaret sounded confused. "Amelia? No, she hasn't mentioned anything about coming to see me." That confirmed it. "Maybe I misunderstood," Nathan replied smoothly. "Thanks, Margaret. Take care." After hanging up, Nathan smiled grimly. He now had enough proof to catch her in the act. The perfect husband facade. Over the next few days, Nathan pretended everything was normal. He smiled when Amelia kissed him goodbye in the mornings, played the attentive husband during dinner, and even offered to pack her a small bag for her trip to see Mom. The night before her departure, Amelia was unusually affectionate, wrapping her arms around Nathan as they sat on the couch. "You've been so understanding lately," she said, nuzzling his neck. "I really appreciate it." Nathan's stomach churned at her audacity, but he forced a soft smile. "Of course. I trust you completely." If she noticed the bitterness in his tone, she didn't show it. The revelation. The morning of her departure, Nathan kissed Amelia goodbye as she rolled her suitcase to the car. "Say hi to your mom for me," he said, keeping his voice steady. "Will do," she chirped, her eyes alight with excitement, though Nathan knew it wasn't for him. Once she drove off, Nathan sprang into action. He had already hired a private investigator to follow her to the resort and document her weekend escapades. But Nathan didn't just want proof for himself. He wanted Amelia to feel the weight of her actions in real time. He packed his own bag and drove to the resort, arriving several hours after Amelia and Kyle had checked in. The PI had sent him updates. They were lounging by the pool, sipping cocktails, and behaving like a love-struck couple. Nathan's chest tightened as he watched from a distance, concealed behind a pair of dark sunglasses. He took several photos of his own, ensuring he had evidence from every angle. As the sun set, Nathan made his move. The confrontation. Nathan approached the resort's reception desk and slipped the concierge a crisp bill. "I need to know which room Amelia Thompson and Kyle Grant are staying in," he said. The concierge hesitated, but Nathan's calm yet commanding presence won him over. Moments later, he was holding a room key in his hand. Nathan didn't knock when he reached their suite. Instead, he slid the key card into the lock and pushed the door open, stepping into the room without hesitation. The sight before him made his blood boil. Amelia and Kyle were seated on the couch, laughing over a bottle of champagne. Their carefree expressions froze the moment they saw Nathan. Nathan? Amelia gasped, scrambling to her feet. Kyle's face turned pale as he stood, hands raised defensively. "Hey, man, this isn't what it looks like. Save it," Nathan said coldly, cutting him off. He turned to Amelia, his voice like ice. "So, this is your mother's house, huh? Nice decor." Amelia's mouth opened and closed, but no words came out. "You've been lying to me for months," Nathan continued, his voice rising. "Sneaking around, betraying everything we built. And for what? Him?" He gestured to Kyle, who shifted uncomfortably. "Nathan, I can explain," Amelia began, but Nathan held up a hand. "Don't bother," he snapped. "I've seen everything. The texts, the emails, the photos. I've known for weeks. And now, so does he." Nathan tossed his phone onto the coffee table. The screen lit up with the evidence he had collected. Amelia's face crumpled as she scrolled through the photos of her and Kyle, her betrayal laid bare. "Nathan, please," she started, tears streaming down her face. "No," Nathan said firmly. "You don't get to beg. You don't get to lie your way out of this. Enjoy your weekend. It's the last one you'll have on my dime." He turned on his heel and walked out, leaving Amelia and Kyle stunned and speechless. The fallout begins as Nathan drove away from the resort. A sense of clarity washed over him. The woman he had trusted with his heart had betrayed him in the worst way possible, but now he held the power. He wasn't done yet. The next phase of his plan was already in motion, and it would ensure that Amelia and Kyle wouldn't just regret their actions, they'd never forget them. As Nathan drove away from the resort, the weight of his actions began to settle over him. The confrontation had been satisfying, but it wasn't enough. Amelia and Kyle had played him for a fool, and he wasn't about to let them walk away unscathed. If they wanted to destroy his world, he'd make sure theirs crumbled first. Unleashing the storm, Nathan spent the next few days meticulously preparing. He wasn't going to stoop to their level with petty insults or public arguments. No, he was aiming for something far more devastating. First, he gathered every shred of evidence he had: photos, emails, financial records, and even audio recordings he'd managed to capture through the tracking app on Amelia's phone. Then he contacted a lawyer to begin drafting divorce papers. "I want everything handled quickly," Nathan told the lawyer, his tone cold and businesslike. "She's not getting a single penny she doesn't deserve." The lawyer, an older man with a reputation for ruthless efficiency, nodded. "If what you've shown me holds up, you have a strong case. Infidelity changes everything." Next, Nathan turned his attention to Kyle. A quick online search revealed that Kyle had a high-profile position at a tech startup, one that prided itself on ethical behavior and integrity. It was almost too perfect. Nathan crafted an email, attaching some of the most damning evidence he had of Kyle's affair with Amelia. He sent it anonymously to Kyle's boss, making sure it would leave no trace back to him. "Let's see how charming you are when your coworkers know what kind of man you really are," Nathan muttered as he hit send. The shockwave hits 3 days later. Nathan's phone buzzed with a notification. It was a text from Amelia. "Amelia, Nathan, please, can we talk?" He didn't respond. Instead, he scrolled through the messages she had sent over the past 2 days. Each one was more frantic than the last. "Amelia, I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Please don't do this. Amelia, you're ruining my life. Can't we work this out? Amelia, Nathan, please answer me. I need to explain." Nathan smirked. He had no intention of hearing her out, not after what she had done. That evening, he received another text, this time from an unfamiliar number. "Kyle, we need to talk, man. Please. You don't understand the whole story." Nathan laughed out loud. The irony of Kyle begging for mercy wasn't lost on him. He deleted the message without replying. The fallout begins by the end of the week. The fallout from Nathan's actions was impossible to ignore. Word had spread through Kyle's office about the affair, and it wasn't long before he was called into a meeting with HR. The company's strict moral code left no room for negotiation, and Kyle was unceremoniously fired. Meanwhile, Amelia's carefully curated social life began to unravel. Friends who had once admired her for her charm and wit now whispered behind her back. The evidence of Nathan shared found its way into the hands of her closest circle, exposing her betrayal for all to see. But Nathan wasn't done yet. A public reckoning Nathan decided it was time to make his final move. He had been invited to the cheering gala once ago, and Amelia had once been excited about attending. The guest list included many of their mutual friends, along with several of his professional contacts. He arrived at the event wearing a tailored suit that made every clothes, a haggard appearance, and a desperation that Nathan had never seen before. "Nathan," Kyle began, his voice hoarse, "I need your help." Nathan's immediate response was anger. He stepped back, ready to slam the door, but something stopped him. The same sense of responsibility that had pushed him to help Amelia. "Help," Nathan said bitterly. "After everything you've done?" "I know I've screwed up," Kyle admitted, his voice trembling. "I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I'm out of options." Nathan folded his arms, glaring. "You dragged Amelia into your mess. Do you even care what you put her through?" Kyle winced, shame flickering across his face. "I never meant for her to get hurt. I thought I could fix things before it spiraled out of control." "Fix things?" Nathan snapped. "You abandoned her with people hunting her down. She could have been killed, Kyle." Kyle's shoulders slumped. "I know, and I'll live with that guilt for the rest of my life. But Nathan, if you don't help me now, I'm as good as dead." The ugly truth. Nathan reluctantly let Kyle inside, though he kept a wary distance. Over a tense cup of coffee, Kyle unraveled the full story. His gambling addiction had started years ago, a way to cope with the stress of living up to everyone's expectations. But what began as a distraction quickly became an obsession. Kyle borrowed money from anyone who would lend it: friends, loan sharks, even people connected to dangerous criminal syndicates. When he couldn't pay, he fled, hoping the chaos would blow over. But it didn't. The debt collectors found Amelia, assuming she knew where he was. "Victor's men cornered me," Kyle said, his hands shaking. "They gave me an ultimatum: pay or disappear forever. I don't have the money, Nathan, and they won't wait much longer." Nathan clenched his jaw. "Why come to me? You threw away our friendship the second you betrayed me." Kyle looked down at his hands, guilt etched into his features. "Because you're the only one I can trust. The only one who might still care, no matter how much I don't deserve it." A dangerous gamble against his better judgment, Nathan decided to help Kyle. He couldn't stand the idea of blood on his hands, even if it belonged to someone who had hurt him so deeply. The first step was confronting Victor again. Nathan returned to the upscale club, his heart pounding. Victor greeted him with a cold smile. "Back so soon?" "I found Kyle," Nathan said, his voice steady. "But he doesn't have your money. I want to make you an offer." Victor's smile faded, replaced by a calculating expression. "I'm listening. Give him time, 2 weeks. I'll make sure you get what you're owed." Victor chuckled, leaning back in his chair. "And what guarantee do I have that you're not wasting my time?" Nathan took a deep breath. "You have my word, and if I fail, you won't have to look for him. I'll bring him to you myself." Victor studied him, his piercing gaze unrelenting. Finally, he nodded. 2 weeks, not a day more. An unlikely partnership. Nathan and Kyle worked tirelessly over the next several days to come up with the money. Nathan liquidated assets, called in favors, and even dipped into his savings. Anything to buy Kyle a shot at redemption. But as the deadline loomed, it became clear that they wouldn't reach the full amount. "We're short," Kyle said, his voice heavy with despair. "There's one more option," Nathan said grimly. The final showdown. Nathan returned to Victor on the final night, Kyle by his side. They carried a briefcase containing most, but not all, of the money. Victor greeted them in a private lounge, his expression unreadable. Well, the prodigal son returns." Kyle swallowed hard, unable to meet Victor's gaze. "We couldn't get the full amount," Nathan admitted, opening the briefcase. "But this is close." Victor glanced at the money, then back at Nathan. "Not good enough." Nathan stepped forward, his tone firm. "He's here. He's not running anymore. You want your pound of flesh, take it. But know this, he's not worth the trouble. If you go after him, you'll draw attention you don't want." Victor raised an eyebrow. "Is that a threat?" "It's advice," Nathan said. "You've got most of your money back. You've sent your message. Dragging this out won't get you anything except a mess." The room fell silent as Victor considered Nathan's words. Finally, he smiled coldly. "You've got guts. Fine. I'll take the money and call it even." But if either of you crosses me again, there won't be a second chance. Closure and redemption. Walking out of the club, Kyle turned to Nathan, his expression filled with gratitude and shame. You saved my life, Kyle said. I don't know how I'll ever repay you. Start by fixing yourself, Nathan replied. Get help, stay out of trouble, and don't ever drag someone else into your mess again. Kyle nodded, tears brimming in his eyes. I will. I promise. Nathan watched as Kyle disappeared into the night, unsure if he would ever see him again. A new beginning. For the first time in months, Nathan felt a sense of peace. He had faced betrayal, protected Amelia, and even helped Kyle find a second chance. Life had thrown him into chaos, but he had emerged stronger, more certain of who he was and what he stood for. As he walked home under the city lights, Nathan smiled. He wasn't defined by the pain others had caused him. He was defined by how he chose to rise above it. The end.